ancient Stoics were masters of understanding human nature and emotions. While they didn't write directly about romantic relationships, their principles of self-control, emotional discipline, and reading between the lines of human behavior are as relevant today as they were centuries ago. The Stoics knew that emotions drive most of our decisions, and they practiced the art of managing those emotions to gain power over themselves and, by extension, over others. In today's episode, we'll dive into how these same principles can be applied to make women miss you, even if they initially weren't interested. The key lies in emotional mastery and the subtle psychological moves you make. Trust me, if you follow these 7 powerful steps, 99% of women will start thinking about you, wondering what you're doing, and missing you deeply. Make sure to watch this video till the end, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If you've had any personal experience with this, share your story in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Let's get started with the first chapter. Chapter 1. Don't contact her. It might seem like the exact opposite of what you should do, but the most effective way to make a woman miss you is to simply not contact her. This isn't about playing childish games or trying to manipulate her feelings. It's about creating space that will spark curiosity and longing. Human psychology tells us that we value things more when we don't have constant access to them. When you're always present, always texting or calling, you become a part of her routine. And while routines are comfortable, they rarely excite. By pulling back, you shift the dynamic. Think about the ancient Stoics and their approach to life. They believed in controlling impulses and mastering emotional discipline. They never allowed themselves to be overly reactive to external situations, choosing instead to remain calm and detached. In the same way, you need to resist the urge to reach out to her constantly. The more you flood her with attention, the more she takes it for granted. But when you hold back, you create a vacuum, a space where she begins to notice your absence. Here's the fascinating part. Even if she wasn't particularly interested in you to begin with, your absence forces her to reevaluate the situation. She starts to wonder why you stopped texting, calling, or engaging with her. She might even begin to question whether she misjudged her feelings about you. When you're no longer available, she'll realize the void left in your wake. This is basic human nature. We crave what we can't easily have. The mistake most men make is being too available. They believe that constant communication is necessary to maintain a woman's interest. But this is where the Stoic philosophy of restraint comes into play. By not reaching out, you're showing her that you're not emotionally dependent on her response or validation. You have your own life to live, and you're not going to drop everything to chase after her. However, consistency is key here. If you go silent for a day or two and then suddenly reappear with a text explaining your silence, you lose all the progress you've made. True detachment, true mastery of this tactic, means embracing the silence without explanation. You don't owe her a reason for not contacting her. The more she wonders why you're distant, the more she'll begin to miss the attention she once took for granted. Imagine this. She checks her phone, expecting to see a message from you like she's used to, but nothing comes. Hours turn into days and still no word from you. Slowly, she starts to question herself. Why hasn't he reached out? Did I do something wrong? The more she overthinks it, the more she becomes emotionally invested. And here's the beauty of it. She's thinking about you more when you're not contacting her than when you were constantly in her inbox. This tactic is so effective because it forces her to confront her feelings. Even if she wasn't initially interested, the space you've created will make her question her previous disinterest. You've pulled the rug out from under her expectations, and now she's left trying to understand why she misses the attention she once took for granted. She'll wonder if she misread your signals, or if she's the one who's no longer in control of the situation. The longer you maintain this distance, the more intense her feelings will become. Absence truly makes the heart grow fonder, and in this case, it will make her miss you, even if she wasn't particularly into you before. This silence becomes a challenge, a puzzle she feels compelled to solve. And in her effort to figure out why you've gone quiet, she'll find herself thinking about you far more than she ever did when you were merely available. Chapter 2. Show her you're still living your life. One of the most critical things to do when trying to make a woman miss you is to show her that you're still living your life without her. The moment you stop chasing her and instead focus on your own goals, passions, and social life, she'll start to notice. Women are drawn to men who have a purpose, who are active and engaged in their own lives. When you show that you're fulfilled without her, she'll begin to wonder what's keeping you so busy. This creates a sense of mystery and intrigue, which in turn makes her miss you more. Think about the Stoics, especially someone like Marcus Aurelius. Despite being a Roman emperor, one of the most powerful men in the world, he emphasized the importance of focusing on your own journey, regardless of external influences. In modern terms, this means not putting your life on hold for anyone, especially not a woman. When you stop revolving your actions around her and invest in yourself, your career, your hobbies, your friendships, you send a powerful message. I don't need you to complete me. My life is already full. Imagine this. While she's busy wondering why you haven't texted or called, she checks your social media and sees that you're out having fun with friends, working out, or pursuing your ambitions. You're not sitting around waiting for her to throw breadcrumbs of attention your way. You're too focused on building yourself into a better version of who you were yesterday. This approach hits deep because it taps into one of the most primal fears women have: being replaced or forgotten. When she sees that your life hasn't stopped because she's not around, she starts to feel the pressure. You're making her realize that you're perfectly fine without her, and this realization is often a bitter pill to swallow. The fear of missing out, the anxiety of being forgotten, and the thought that you might move on to someone else becomes real to her. Here's where many men get it wrong. They think that by cutting contact and showing they're living their life, they need to rub it in her face. But that's not how you play the game. Don't go overboard with boasting or flaunting your lifestyle. Keep it subtle. Post pictures of you hanging out with friends, enjoying a new hobby, or even just relaxing with a good book. Let her see glimpses of your life without her, and it'll start to gnaw at her. The more she sees you thriving, the more she'll want to be a part of it. The best part? This tactic works whether she was interested in you initially or not. Even if she wasn't attracted to you before, seeing you live a fulfilling, independent life sparks a new kind of curiosity. She starts to wonder why you're so content without her. Why are you not chasing after her like every other guy? Why are you so at peace with yourself? And in trying to answer these questions, she'll find herself thinking about you more and more. The Stoics believed in the power of inner fulfillment, and this is what you're demonstrating when you show her that you're living your life. By not being desperate for her attention, you prove that your happiness doesn't depend on her. This makes you incredibly attractive, as it goes against the grain of what most women are used to. They're used to men clamoring for their attention, trying to impress them, and altering their lives just to get a moment of their time. You, on the other hand, are showing that your time is valuable and that your life is rich with or without her in it. The key here is consistency. You can't just act like you're living your life for a few days and then fall back into the trap of chasing her. You have to fully embrace this mindset because it's not just a tactic, it's a lifestyle. Once you truly internalize this idea of self-sufficiency, it will become second nature, and she'll sense that you're genuinely content. That's when the tables turn and she starts to feel the distance between you. When she reaches out, and she will eventually, you'll be in a position of strength. You won't need to drop everything to respond to her. You've already shown her that your life is moving forward with or without her attention. The longer she watches you thrive from a distance, the more she'll start to miss you. Even if she didn't care before, she'll begin to feel a sense of loss because she knows that you're living a life that doesn't revolve around her. And that's a powerful thing. In the end, showing her that you're still living your life is one of the most effective ways to make her miss you. You're not just sitting around waiting for her to text back. You're out there building your own empire. And as the Stoics would remind us, true strength comes from within, not from external validation. When you embody that, she'll feel it and she'll miss you. Chapter 3. Don't give in to the attention bait. Women are masters at subtly seeking attention, whether it's a strategically placed social media post or a casual text that seems innocent. These little actions are often designed to draw you back in. But here's the Stoic secret. The more you resist this bait, the more power you have over the dynamic. When a woman is accustomed to men responding to her every little move, it becomes a game to her, one that she feels she can easily control. However, when you don't react, when you refuse to give her the validation she's fishing for, she starts to realize that she doesn't control you, and that's when she begins to miss you. It's important to understand that it's human nature to desire what we can't have. Women, like men, are wired this way. When you don't take the bait, when you maintain your emotional discipline and stay cool, calm, and collected, you shift the power dynamic. Suddenly, she's forced to reevaluate her understanding of you. Why isn't he reacting like all the other guys? Why isn't he falling into the trap of seeking my approval or validation? This creates a sense of mystery around you, a challenge she becomes eager to figure out. The Stoics preached about not being swayed by external forces, and this situation is a modern reflection of that wisdom. When she posts a picture designed to get your attention or sends a casual text to test the waters, don't rush to respond. In fact, don't respond at all, at least not immediately. Let her wonder. Let her mind wander and overanalyze the silence. The more time that passes without you reacting, the more she'll begin to question what's going on, and that's precisely when she starts missing you. Most men fall into the trap of constantly seeking validation from women. They're always chasing after that little crumb of attention, eagerly responding to every message or post. But when you ignore her bait, you're flipping the script entirely. Now she's the one left craving validation from you. She starts to wonder if you've lost interest, if you've moved on, or worse, if you found someone else. This uncertainty begins to gnaw at her, making her think about you more often than she probably expected to. By resisting her attention-seeking tactics, you're teaching her a valuable lesson in scarcity. If she realizes that she can't have you at her beck and call, she'll start to value your time and attention much more. The Stoics understood the importance of not giving in to impulses, especially those designed to control your emotions. By practicing restraint, you're not only preserving your own emotional energy, but you're also making her see that you're not like everyone else who fawns over her. She might not even realize she's trying to bait you, but that doesn't make the tactic any less real. It could be a selfie with friends at a party, or a text saying something like, "Just thought of you," or "Missed your face today." While these may seem innocuous on the surface, they are subtle hooks designed to gauge your interest. By responding right away or too eagerly, you're handing over your power and showing her that you're available at her command. But when you hold back, something incredible happens. Her curiosity grows. She'll start thinking about why you didn't respond, or why you didn't acknowledge that selfie. What's going on in your life that's more important than giving her attention? Is there someone else occupying your thoughts? These questions will run through her mind, and before she realizes it, she's thinking about you constantly. And when someone is thinking about you, they begin to miss you, even if they didn't have strong feelings before. This method of holding back may feel uncomfortable at first. After all, it's natural to want to reciprocate attention when it's given. But the Stoics would argue that the ability to resist temptation to control your impulses is a sign of strength and self-mastery. By not giving in to the attention bait, you're showing her and yourself that you're not someone who can be easily manipulated or swayed. You're in control of your emotions and your actions, and that's a rare quality. The genius of this strategy is that it works on a subconscious level. She might not realize why she's suddenly thinking about you more, but it's happening because you're not feeding into the cycle of constant validation. You've created a gap, a silence, and in that space her mind starts to fill in the blanks. And the longer you hold back, the more powerful that absence becomes. Eventually, she'll find herself reaching out more, trying harder to get your attention. The roles have reversed, and now you're the one in control of the dynamic. And all it took was a bit of emotional discipline, something the Stoics excelled at. So, the next time you receive one of those seemingly innocent attention-baiting texts or social media posts, remember, the more you resist, the more she'll miss you. This is not about playing games, but about practicing restraint and letting her realize your value through your absence. She'll start to wonder why she hasn't heard from you, and that's when you'll know you're in her head. She'll miss the attention, miss your presence, and eventually miss you entirely. Chapter 4. Don't be eager, be vague. When the time comes for you to make contact, it's essential that you don't act eager or overly excited. In fact, the less eager you appear, the better. This is where the power of being vague really comes into play. Don't rush to share every detail about what you've been doing, who you've been with, or what's been happening in your life. Instead, keep things mysterious and elusive. Why? Because people, especially women, are naturally drawn to what they don't fully understand. It's a psychological hook. When you leave things unsaid, she's more likely to fill in the blanks with her own imagination, often creating an idealized version of you in her mind. The Stoics, in their infinite wisdom, believed that control over one's words was a mark of true strength. They were masters of silence and minimalism, understanding that not every thought or emotion needs to be expressed. This principle can be applied here. When you do finally talk to her, give her just enough information to keep her intrigued, but not so much that she feels like she has you figured out. Being vague allows you to maintain an air of mystery, which can make you incredibly alluring. Let's say she asks what you've been up to. Instead of giving her a detailed rundown of your weekend, simply say something like, "Oh, just keeping busy," and then shift the conversation. By doing this, you leave a gap in her mind. She'll start wondering, what's he been doing? Who's he been with? That curiosity will linger long after the conversation is over, making her think about you more than she would if you'd given her all the answers. It's that desire to know more that often leads to deeper interest, and eventually to missing you. Being vague doesn't mean being cold or dismissive. It means controlling the flow of information. You want to give her just enough to keep her engaged, but never enough that she feels completely satisfied. Think of it like offering a small taste of something delicious. She'll want the full meal, but you're keeping her in suspense. And in that suspense, she'll start to miss you, even if she didn't think she cared all that much before. It's important to remember that eagerness can be a turnoff. When you're overly excited to talk to her or share every aspect of your life, it signals that you're seeking her approval, that you need her attention. This can come across as desperate or insecure, which is the exact opposite of what you want. By being vague and keeping your cards close to your chest, you demonstrate that you're in control, not just of the conversation, but of your emotions and your life as a whole. You're not seeking validation from her, and that's incredibly attractive. The Stoics would have viewed this restraint as an extension of their philosophy of self-control. They knew that true power comes from within, from the ability to govern one's own desires and impulses. By not rushing to share everything, you're showing that you have this inner strength, that you don't need external validation to feel good about yourself. And this is exactly what will make her miss you. She'll see that you're not like other guys who are desperate for her attention. You're different, you're in control, you're self-assured, and, most importantly, you're mysterious. When she starts thinking about you in this way, her desire for you will grow. She'll want to know more about you, to uncover the parts of your life that you're keeping hidden. And as she spends more time thinking about you, wondering what you're up to, she'll start to miss you, even if she wasn't particularly interested in you before. This sense of mystery will make her feel drawn to you. She'll start imagining what her life could be like with someone as intriguing and composed as you. And that's when you've truly captured her attention. Chapter 5. Create jealousy. Jealousy is one of the most powerful emotions when it comes to relationships. And while it's not about playing mind games, a little bit of jealousy can go a long way in making a woman miss you. This doesn't mean you should go out of your way to make her feel insecure or inferior, but rather that you should let her see that she's not the only person in your life. When a woman realizes that she's not your sole focus, it triggers a sense of competition, and makes her desire you even more. Women, whether they admit it or not, have a natural instinct to compete for the attention of high-value men. When she sees that other women, or even just other people in general, value your time and enjoy being around you, it makes her realize that she's not your entire world. And this is crucial, because when she feels like she's competing for your attention, she's going to want you more. It's basic human psychology. People value what's scarce. When you make your time and attention less available, she'll start to realize just how valuable it is. The Stoics were all about emotional indifference, not allowing external factors, like the opinions or actions of others, to control their inner peace. In this context, creating a little jealousy is not about being manipulative or playing games. It's about showing that you're indifferent to her approval. You have your own life, your own circle, and you're not waiting around for her to give you validation. When she sees that you're living your life without her, and that other people are drawn to you, she'll start to feel a sense of urgency. She'll wonder, what am I missing out on? Why aren't I getting his attention? You can create this sense of jealousy in subtle ways. Mention in passing that you've been spending time with friends or that you've been on an adventure without going into too much detail. If she asks more questions, keep your answers vague, as we discussed earlier. The key here is to make her realize that your world doesn't revolve around her. When she sees that other people are part of your life, especially other women, it sparks that competitive instinct, and she'll start working harder to gain your attention. This tactic taps into something primal. Women want to feel special, to feel like they're the ones who have your attention above all others. But when they see that your attention is not guaranteed, that they might lose you to someone else, it creates a powerful emotional reaction. She'll start thinking about you more often, wondering why you're not focused on her, and in doing so, she'll begin to miss you. The Stoics believed that emotional detachment was the key to maintaining inner peace. By not obsessing over any one person or outcome, they were able to stay grounded and in control. In your case, by not being overly eager or available, and by allowing a little jealousy to creep in, you're practicing that same emotional detachment. You're showing that you're not desperate for her approval or attention, and that's what will make her want you even more. It's important to note that jealousy should be created in a healthy, respectful way. This isn't about manipulating her emotions or making her feel bad. It's about showing her that you're a man with options, a man who values himself and his time. When she realizes that you're not waiting around for her, that other people find you attractive and interesting, she'll start to see you in a new light. And that's when she'll miss you, because she'll realize that she's not the only one vying for your attention, and she'll want to win it more than ever. By creating a little healthy competition, you're making yourself more desirable. You're showing that you're not easily won over, and that's exactly what will make her miss you, even if she wasn't initially interested. The Stoics knew the power of scarcity and emotional independence, and by practicing these principles, you'll find that women will naturally start to miss you, without you having to lift a finger. Chapter 6. Nickname. Her nicknames may seem trivial, but they carry an incredible amount of psychological weight. When you give a woman a unique nickname, you're creating a personal connection that no one else shares with her. It's a subtle form of intimacy that doesn't require grand gestures but works deeply in her subconscious. The Stoics understood that relationships are built on personal bonds, and using a special nickname is a quiet way to show that you see her in a way no one else does. Why does this make her miss you? Because every time she hears that nickname, whether it's from you or someone else, it will remind her of you. The name becomes associated with the emotional connection the two of you share. It's almost as if you've created a private language that only the two of you speak. And once you've pulled back and created distance, she'll miss that special connection. She'll start to realize that no one else has the kind of rapport with her that you do, and that thought alone will make her miss the time she spent with you. But here's the twist. When you give her a nickname, don't overuse it. The power of a nickname comes from its rarity. If you call her by this nickname constantly, it loses its charm and impact. Instead, Drop it casually and sparingly, letting her feel the weight of it when it's said. The more strategic you are with when and how you use it, the more it sticks in her mind. She'll come to associate the nickname with the connection you have, and she'll long to hear it again when you're not around. There's a subtle psychological trick in play here. By using a nickname, you're marking her as someone who is part of your inner circle. You've claimed a small piece of her identity in a way that's unique to your relationship. And when you withdraw and stop using it for a while, she'll start to miss that feeling of being singled out, of having a special bond with you that no one else can replicate. This tactic can be especially powerful when combined with the silence you've created by not contacting her. She's already missing your attention, but now she's also missing the nickname that made her feel special. Even if she wasn't interested in you before, the nickname adds a layer of emotional depth to your relationship. It makes her realize that there's something about you she can't get anywhere else, and that realization will gnaw at her, making her miss you more than she ever thought possible. The Stoics knew the power of words, and they believed in using them sparingly and wisely. A well-chosen nickname is a perfect example of this. It's a small thing, but when used correctly, it can create an emotional bond that's hard to break. And when you combine that bond with your newfound emotional detachment, you set the stage for her to miss you on a much deeper level. Remember, it's not about being manipulative. It's about creating a connection that she values. And when she feels that connection, even in your absence, she'll miss the emotional intimacy that nickname represents. Chapter 7. Teach her something new. One of the most effective ways to make a lasting impact on a woman, especially if she's not initially interested, is to teach her something new. It could be anything, either a skill, a new way of thinking, or even introducing her to a book, hobby, or philosophy she's never considered before. When you become the person who opens her mind to new ideas and experiences, you leave a mark that lingers long after you've stopped contacting her. The Stoics believed that the path to growth and enlightenment comes from learning and self-improvement. You can embody this principle by becoming her teacher in some way. Why does this work so well? Because learning something from someone creates a bond. People naturally feel a connection to those who've taught them something valuable, whether it's practical or emotional. When you're the person who introduces her to new perspectives, you become memorable. She'll associate the new experience or knowledge with you, and even when you're not around, she'll think of you every time she uses that skill or remembers that idea. But there's more to it than just teaching her something useful. It's also about challenging her to think differently. Women appreciate men who can stimulate their minds as much as their emotions. By encouraging her to look at the world through a new lens, you elevate yourself above the typical guys she encounters. You're not just another person texting her compliments or asking her out. You're someone who enriches her life, who makes her think, and who adds value in ways she didn't expect. Imagine you teach her something as simple as a new cooking technique, or you introduce her to Stoic philosophy itself. Every time she cooks the dish or reads a quote from Marcus Aurelius, she'll think of you. The learning process becomes tied to her memories of you, and those memories will keep resurfacing, making her miss you more than if you had simply been another guy chasing her for attention. And here's where it gets even more powerful. Once you've taught her something, you pull back. You don't hover over her, constantly checking in to see if she's practicing what you've taught her. You let her absorb it on her own. The Stoics were all about self-reliance. And by giving her the tools to learn something new, and then stepping back, you're showing her that you trust her to grow independently. This creates a sense of respect and admiration for you. She'll miss your presence because you've become a key figure in her personal development, not just someone who's looking for validation. The final twist in this tactic is the emotional bond that forms from shared experiences. When you teach her something, you're creating a moment that belongs only to the two of you. Even as she tries to push you out of her mind, she'll keep coming back to that moment, remembering how you made her feel both challenged and enlightened, and that's a feeling she won't easily forget. The Stoics knew that real strength comes from within. And when you teach a woman something new, you're helping her build that inner strength. But at the same time, you're ensuring that you remain a part of her journey, even when you're not physically or emotionally present. That's the key to making her miss you, even if she wasn't initially interested. You've made yourself irreplaceable in her growth and learning. By not contacting her, showing her that you're living your life, resisting her attention bait, being vague, creating jealousy, using nicknames, and teaching her something new, you're practicing the art of Stoic detachment, while still making her think about you constantly. You're not chasing after her, you're drawing her to you by being the kind of man who is in control of his emotions, his time, and his life. These 7 tactics aren't about manipulation, they're about understanding human psychology and using it to your advantage. The Stoics mastered this, and you can too. When you embody these principles, you'll find that even women who weren't initially interested will start to miss you. They'll miss the attention, the mystery, and the value you bring to their lives. And that's the power of Stoic attraction.